What's up, guys? Wes Pruitt, 4 Star Sports Media, and you're inside the Sports Buffet on a Friday. Hey, let's treat this Friday like one of Jerry Lawler's opponents. Let's drop the strap, throw some heavy rights, and give it a pile driver. Got a big time show today, talking live golf, Hong Kong tournament starting off. Then we're going to go out to the desert, talk a little NASCAR with a very eventful weekend for NASCAR motorsports. Take a little break, and then when we come back, we're going to talk all college sports. Start with the Memphis Tigers. Interesting basketball matchup coming up for them tomorrow. Baseball cranks up today, 3 o'clock. Softball cranks up tonight as well in American Athletic Conference play. And then after that, we're going to be joined by Jason Pattyson from hogville.net. He's going to come in and talk all things Arkansas Razorbacks as we talk Arkansas baseball as they welcome McNeese State to town. And then we're also going to talk a little spring football as the Hogs got cranked up yesterday out on campus. All that and more on a jam-packed Friday show. It's March 8th, 2024. Let's get into it. All right, guys, so let's get started. Let's start off with a little live golf. They're out in Hong Kong right now. Very interesting first round. We saw after a very disappointing week last week in Jeddah, Stinger Golf Club, Stingers GC, entered Live Golf Hong Kong determined to make amends or fix last week's issue. Well, the Stingers did a really good job of that. Yesterday over in Hong Kong, Dean Burmeister shot a 7 under 63 for a first round lead at the historic Hong Kong Golf Club. And the Stingers GC has a team score of 16 under, which is one shot better than Bryson DeChambeau's Crushers GC, team that rallied past the Stingers last week on Sunday for a record-tying final round of 20 under as a team, which is incredible. Burmeister would say it was obviously a tough pill to swallow. I saw Bryson in the locker room, and I used some language, Burmeister would say. But in all good spirits, I was like, damn, you guys are tough to beat. We had a good week last week, and the Crushers did something crazy on Sunday. But I see they're right behind us again. Hopefully we can do something to them this week. Very, very interesting stuff. Burmeister and the Fireballs GC's own Abraham Answer share the individual lead right now, one stroke ahead of a 6-man pack chasing them down. Louis Oosthausen, Crushers, Charles Howell III, Harold Varner III, Matt Jones from the Rippers GC, Cleeks GC, Martin Kamer, shot a low of 64 yesterday. 64. 54-player field. Highly decorated. Really going to be all these tournaments are fun. I don't know if you guys have watched the Live Golf tournaments in the past, but every golfer has their own walkout song. There's music playing all the time. And then, they're overseas. They're in Hong Kong. So at one point yesterday, 12 players were tied to the lead at 5 under before Burmeister and Answer would separate themselves with late birdies. But a total of 44 players would shoot par or better. Charles Howell III would say it's crazy, right? Crazy. He said, never thought that. Would have never thought that. How low the scores are with this golf course. It's a testament to the strength of the field and how good these guys really are. I didn't think there was going to be many low numbers, but I don't know. I guess it's just playing perfect golf, Answer would say. Answer was also bogey-free yesterday. Answer would go on to say the greens are really good. There's a lot of guys that are playing really good at this time. Very interesting thing. So let's dive into the team. So that's a cool thing about Live Golf. You've got team aspect, and then simultaneously you have the individual aspect. So Stinger GC right now sits at the top, 16 under as a team. Burmeister shot a 63, Oosthausen shot a 64, and Grace would shoot a 67. Crushers GC sits right behind them, 15 under. Howell, who I mentioned earlier, shot a 64. DeChambeau would shoot a 65, and Casey would shoot a 66. Fireballs GC tied for third place at 12 under with Cleeks GC. For the Fireballs, Answer would shoot a 63, Shikaro would shoot a 64, and Garcia would shoot a 71 on opening day. Now, if you want to watch this tournament live, you can watch it tonight starting at 11 p.m. If you want to stay up late, watch it. The Cleeks, like I said, 12 under. Kamer shot a 64, Bland shot a 66, and Moronk shot a 68 yesterday on the day. Ripper GC comes in at 11 under. Jones would shoot a 64, Smith would shoot a 67, and Leishman would shoot a 68. Four Aces GC come in 10 under, 6th place currently in the team rankings. Varner would shoot a 64, Reed would shoot a 67, and Perez would shoot a 69. Torque Golf Club, or GC, would shoot a 9 ace right now. Munoz would shoot a 66. Neiman would shoot a 67, and Ortiz would shoot a 68. And what's interesting about this league is that they have an alternate with them. And the alternate can play in the first 3 rounds. But once the 4th round comes, unless there's something going on physically with one of the players, then the alternate is part of the team. So it's very, very interesting how this league does things. So Smash GC comes in tied for 8th. They're right now tied with the Majestics Golf Club. For Smash, Brooks Koepka coming in 65. Gooch, 69. And McDowell, also a 69. As I just stated, the Majestics are tied with them 7 under par. Stinson shot a 66. Poulter also would shoot a 66. And then Horsfield would shoot a 71. Tied for 10th right now is Ironheads GC at 6 under and Legion 13. The brand new team, the expansion team, featuring John Rahm, come in at 6 under. For the Ironheads, Nah would shoot a 67. Did he play good? Did he play bad today? No, he didn't. He shot a 67. Vincent would shoot a 67 as well. And Lee would shoot a 70. Now, obviously, I'm giving all their last names. For Legion 13, Rahm would shoot a 67. Hatton would shoot a 68. And Vincent would shoot a 69 on the day. The High Flyers Golf Club come in 5 under. Trengale, would shoot a 66. Ogletree would shoot a 69. And Steele would shoot a 70. Range Goats Golf Club come in last place, 13th team. 4 under par as a team. Wolf would shoot a 67. Watson would shoot a 68. And Peters would shoot a 71. Very interesting tournament. It's going to be very fun to see what can happen as it transpires through Sunday. The Cleeks GC captain Martin Kamer, an original Live Golf member, by the way, he had a wrist injury that eventually would require surgery following the 2022 season, which definitely impacted him last year. But he entered the 2024 season in much better spirits and really wanted to improve his play. His opening round Friday at Live Golf Hong Kong is an incredible sign of things to come, as a two-time major champion would shoot a 6 under 64, the lowest score of his 60 career regular season rounds on Live Golf. He started his round on a pair of a par 3 eighth with a birdie. It was 5 under through the first 6 holes before leveling off. He suffered his own lone bogey when he ended his round with 2 more birdies after suffering his lone bogey. He would end the round with 2 birdies to have his team sitting in tied for third place right now. He would say, "I'm just getting used to it again, to shooting lower scores, and once in a while being up there and feeling that pressure." Kamer would go on to say, "It's just a different feeling when you're in the top 5, top 10 of players to win a golf tournament." Very interesting things from Live Golf. Speaking of the fans, we talked about them earlier. Several players would make comments about the fans, not in a negative way. They would say everybody seems to be having a great time, very supportive, would say Abraham Ainser. They acknowledge good shots, which is awesome. Dean Burmeister would say, "I heard so many great things over the years of this golf course, and I never had the opportunity to come here and play. It's very welcoming, and they really appreciate good shots, which is really nice to see. I'm sure it could get a little rowdy over the weekend, which is what we're hoping for. It should get a little bit fun, and hopefully there will be a lot more good shots and a lot more for them to cheer for." Very interesting. Louis Oosthuizen shooting well. He's hitting the ball well right now. Oosthuizen would say after the first round, "I'm hitting the ball pretty good right now. Just trying to give myself as many birdie putts as I can." He had a chance to grab the lead, a share of the lead, but he missed the birdie opportunity on the final hole and would have this to say: "Horrible read, horrible strike." But the rest was pretty good. Very interesting play from some very top talents around the world. Speaking of top talents, John Rahm was 6 under and tied for the lead with 3 holes remaining. But then he would find major trouble off the tee on the final 18th par 4. He had to hit a provisional and ultimately took a triple bogey to drop him to a tie for 18th at 3 under par. That's crazy, folks. 1 hole, tied for the lead, 18th. Joaquin Niemann, the season's long points leader, after winning 2, he's won 2 of the 3 first events. He shot a 67. He had a 4-hole stretch midway in the first round where he went birdie, bogey, bogey, birdie. He finished the round with a hole out of an eagle on the par 4 17th. And then he turned right around and bogeyed the 18th. Top talent playing top golf. fourth event of the season for Live. Round 1, right here on the Sports Buffet, presented to you by 4-Star Sports Media. It's Friday, March 8th edition. We're live on Twitter. We're live on YouTube. Anyone watching right now, feel free to comment. If you're not watching live and you're listening back, you can always go back, comment on the post. Talking Live Golf, Hong Kong, round 1. Let's look at some stat leaders from round 1. The driving distance, Bryson DeChambeau averaged 356 yards per drive. That is cranking it, folks. Speaking of Bryson, he would have the longest drive of the day on hole 11 when he would drive at 382.9 yards, might as well say 383, which was the longest drive of round 1. Now, driving accuracy was Answer. We've spoken about him a few times. He would hit 13 of 14 fairways at a 92.86% clip. It's pretty good. 92%, it's pretty good. Greens in regulation would see 94.4% from Richard Bland and Brendan Grace. They would hit 17 of 18 greens. And at 1.28 putts per hole, Matt Jones would be the best putter of the day. As I said, round 2 starts tonight in about 10 hours, 11 p.m. You can watch it on the Live Golf Plus app. I'm pretty sure it'll be on CW as well. I feel like everybody has the CW. Very interesting things happening in Live Golf right now. 4th tournament of the year over in Hong Kong. And round 1 was pretty interesting. All right, let's shift gears and get into some NASCAR talk. NASCAR hits the desert out in Phoenix this weekend. The NASCAR Xfinity Series, we talked about it last week. I think it's the longest name ever of a NASCAR race, but it's the call811.com every dig, every time 200 from Phoenix Raceway. It'll take place tomorrow, 3:30 p.m. Central, 4:30 Eastern on FS1. The purse is $1.4 million. You can also listen on MRN or Sirius XM NASCAR radio to the 200-mile, 200-lap Phoenix Raceway Xfinity Series race. Stage 1 will run 45 laps. Stage 2 will end on lap 90. And then they'll run final all the way to the end. These guys are going to get after it tomorrow. There were 4 drivers to keep an eye on. We're going to have an article out about this on 4star.live as well. But 4 guys you need to keep an eye on this weekend at Phoenix. They're all in the hunt for their first win at the track. Sheldon Creed, driver of the number 18 Joe Gibbs Racing Toyota, has made 5 starts at the track, 2 top 5s, 4 top 10s. He's finished runner-up in last year's race. So he knows what it feels like to be up front. 2 top 5s, 4 top 10s. Sheldon Creed's one to watch. He was there last year. Can he be there this year? Austin Hill up next, driver of the 21 Richard Childress Racing Chevrolet. He's made 4 starts in his career at Phoenix Raceway. He's posted 3 top 10s and has led 43 laps. Austin Hill knows what it's like to lead at the 1-mile desert track. It's going to be very interesting. Riley Herbst, young driver, talented driver, driver of the number 98 Stuart Haas Racing Ford. He's posted 4 top 5s and 6 top 10s in 9 races at the track. Gonna have to keep an eye on him. John Hunter Nemechek, full-time NASCAR Cup Series driver. He's going to get behind the wheel of the number 20 Joe Gibbs Racing Toyota for the Xfinity Series race. He's coming off a big win last week in Vegas in the Xfinity Series. He's had 2 top 5s, 6 top 10s, and has led 168 laps in his 7 Xfinity Series starts at Phoenix Raceway. Could we see a first-time winner in Phoenix? Speaking of first-timers, there's some Rookie of the Year standings that are majorly moving around. The Sunoco Rookie of the Year standings after a wild race last week in Las Vegas. Jesse Love holds the lead, but don't sleep on Hailie Deegan. At Las Vegas, she moved up to the 4th spot in the standings following her 15th place finish. Love would extend his lead over second place Shane Van Gisbergen to 36 points. Like I said, Love currently leads his competitors. And he's 7th in the standings with 96 points overall, the overall standings. This weekend will be Love's debut at Phoenix. Could he debut and win? Also debut is for Van Gisbergen. Shane will make his debut. He's sitting in 2nd place, as we talked about. It's going to be very, very, very interesting to see. Shane currently sits in 16th place in the standings overall with 60 points. That's 2 guys right there. Number 2, 1st and 2nd place in the Sunoco rookie standings, both making their debut. Up next, we've got Leland Honeyman Jr. He's sitting at 3rd right now. He's 22nd in the overall Xfinity Series points with 42 points. He made his track debut at Phoenix last November. He started 23rd, finished 27th. 42 points, though, sitting in 3rd place. Hailie Deegan, who we spoke about earlier. She's coming in 4th in the rookie standings. She's currently sitting in 27th in the Xfinity Series overall standings with 33 points. Could Deegan continue to run well? She rolled the dice in Vegas last week. She's making her track debut. And then you got Dawson Cram rounding out the rookie class. He's 38th in the Xfinity Series points. He got 15 points on the year. He's made 3 starts at Phoenix. He averages a finish of 29th. Keep an eye on these rookies. Can Jesse Love keep filling the love? Can Shane catch him? He's sitting in 2nd place. Deegan creeping up. Rolled the dice last week in Vegas. Can she keep it rolling in Phoenix? Or will we see a Sheldon Creed, an Austin Hill, a John Hunter Nemechek get a back-to-back? He won last week in Vegas. It's going to be a lot of fun. Like I said, tomorrow afternoon, 3:30 p.m. Eastern Time, 2:30 p.m. Central. 200 laps, 200 miles. The calls811.com, every dig, every time, 200 from Phoenix Raceway for the Xfinity Series. It's going to be a lot of. It's going to be an exciting race. Every race so far has been. When you look at this NASCAR season, I mean, can you ask for anything more? Atlanta was .003. Daytona was wild. Vegas was wild last week. And now NASCAR heads out to the desert where the Cup Series is going to run the Shriners Children's 500. 3:30 p.m. Eastern Time on Sunday. Purse is a little bit more than the Xfinity Series, sitting at $7.8 million. TV will start at 2:30 Eastern Time with Fox Race Day. You can also tune over to FS1 for their coverage there too. If you want to listen to it, as always, Motor Racing Network or the SMXM NASCAR radio app, or you can download the NASCAR app. You can also listen to scanners, watch videos, and listen to the race there. As always, 312 miles, 312 laps, separated into stages, as always. Stage 1 will end at lap 60. Stage 2 will end at lap 185, and then they'll run it all the way from 185 down to 312. It all starts with qualifying. Every week, this is very, very important. We've seen Joey Logano, Glovegate, Joey Logano. We saw 2 weeks ago in Daytona, they came out and said, hey, the glove's not legal, buddy. And it was webbed. Let me look like. But starting up front at Phoenix is very important. Starting up front in Phoenix is very important, especially if you qualify for the first or third positions. A total of 23 different starting positions have produced wins, but the first and third starting positions are the two most proficient, producing more winners, 8 wins each, than any other position on the starting grid. You have a 14.55% chance of winning if you're not. Wow. That's a stat, folks. That's a stat. First and third starting positions, and you're looking pretty good. If you're not, Looking at last race, William Byron last year started in third position. Ryan Newman would win it in 2002, 2003, 2004, and 2008. Richard Childress' own Kyle Busch would win in 2006, 2012, 2016, and 2019 to lead the NASCAR Cup Series in poles at Phoenix. So Newman and Busch have each got 4. Ryan Blaney comes in with 3. 11 of the 27 Phoenix Raceway Poles winners are active. 27 different drivers have won the Cup Series race from the pole position. Sorry, 27 different drivers have won the pole position. 11 of them are active this weekend. We talked about it. Kyle Busch, Ryan Newman. Ryan Blaney's got 3, 2022, 2019, 2017. Kyle Larson has got 2, 2023, 2021. Joey Logano, we just talked about it. He's won 2 poles already this year. He's got 2022 and 2017. Martin Truex Jr.'s got 1, 2018, and back in 2009. Denny, 2014 and 05. William Byron's got 1 last year. Chase Elliott also has 1, 2020. Bowman got one in 2016. Keselowski got one back in 2014. And my guy AJ Allmendinger got one in 2010. Speaking of winners, like we talked about, there's been 27 different pole winners and 30 different race winners. Kevin Harvick, who recently retired, leads NASCAR Cup Series and wins at Phoenix with 9 victories. That's crazy. 9 of the 30 winners are active this weekend. Kyle Busch has got 3. Joey Logano's got 3. Denny Hamlin's got 2. Ross Chastain's got 1. William Byron's got 1. Chase Briscoe, Kyle Larson, Martin Truex Jr., and Chase Elliott all have 1 win. These are people to look out for this week. These are people to watch this weekend for a wild NASCAR weekend in the desert. Speaking of Phoenix Raceway, it's producing some pretty cool little milestones. We're going to have more about on 4star.live later on about this as well. But let's just take a look at some of these, or all of these. If you're looking at starts, iconic starts in NASCAR history, Joey Logano will be making his 400th NASCAR career start with Team Penske this weekend at Phoenix. 400 for Joey Logano. Wow. That is a staggering number to think about. Tyler Reddick will be making his 150th career NASCAR Cup Series start at Phoenix Raceway this weekend. The Circuit of Americas will be hosting Bubba Wallace's 225th Cup Series start in just a few weeks. As well as Christopher Bell, who will be making his 150th. Logano is expected to make his 550th start at Richmond Motor Raceway this year. He would become the 39th different driver, to reach 550 or more career races. That's crazy. That is crazy. That's a lot, folks. 39th different driver to reach 550 races. Think about how many NASCAR drivers have come through. To put it into a little bit of perspective for you. Chris Buescher is expected to make his 300th NASCAR Cup Series race at Richmond coming up in a few weeks. Now, this is where it gets really, really, what I find very interesting. If Jimmy Johnson, this is wins. These are all wins. If Jimmy Johnson wins this season, he will tie Darrell Waltrip and Bobby Allison for 4th on the NASCAR Cup Series all-time wins list. Currently, Johnson has 6th. It's tied with Cale Yarborough in 6th place. Jimmy Johnson, while many did not like him for a very long time, has stood the test of time. And if you go back to that Daytona race a couple weeks ago, he still got the fire in his gut. He raced his way into the Daytona 500. He would go on to say it was one of the most nerve-wracking situations he's ever been in, but he has more respect for the ones that have to do it now. So even after all these years of Jimmy Johnson racing, he's still finding ways to learn more about the sport he loves. If he wins this season, he'll be in fourth place all time for NASCAR Cup Series wins. That's impressive. Jimmy Johnson has had a majorly impressive career. Like I said, while many did not like him at a younger age, I've never really had an issue with him. Speaking of wins, if Kyle Busch can win 7 races this year, that would put him at 70 wins, and he would be the 8th different driver to accomplish this feat in the series. 70 wins. Can he win 7 races? It's going to be tough. Speaking of somebody that needs to win some races this year to do some history, Denny Hamlin. If he wins 3 races this year, he will tie NASCAR Hall of Famer Lee Petty for 12th on the all-time list with 54 wins. Wow. That's another guy that, man, he's pissing people off, but man, he's had a hell of a career. All these guys we're talking about have had great careers. If Brad Keselowski can get 2 wins this season, he will tie Bobby Isaac for 23rd all-time with 37 career Cup Series wins. If Martin Truex just wins 1, he will tie Brad Keselowski for 24th all-time with 35 wins. So Truex is chasing Brad Keselowski. And if Kyle Larson, who's already run one race, can win 1 more this year, he'll have 25 wins, become the 36th different driver all time in NASCAR Cup Series to reach 25 wins. An iconic NASCAR racing, the Wood Brothers racing team. If they can just win 1 this season, they will eclipse the 100. They will have 100 NASCAR Cup wins. They currently sit at obviously 99. How cool would that be for the Wood Brothers to get 100? There's a lot of storylines going on in NASCAR right now. I almost want to go over these wins again. Like, it's this race in Phoenix is going to be very important from the start to the finish. Like we talked about, if you win the pole or you're sitting 3rd, there's been 8 wins each from those 2 positions. If you start in any of the other positions, it's a 14.55 winning percentage for you. In total, 27 drivers have won the pole at Phoenix. Like I said earlier, 11 are active this weekend. Now, I know you may be asking, Wes, where's the trucks? Well, they're off this week, but they're back next week at Bristol. So don't worry. We'll be talking about them more next week. But laying down a good lap on qualifying is key at Phoenix Raceway. Like I said, folks, $7 million to the winner of the NASCAR Cup Series, the Shriners Children's 500. This Sunday, folks, tune in. It's going to be a lot of fun for a 3-lap thriller in the desert. Could we see Kyle Busch pull away the all-time active winners with 3? Could we see him pull away, get a win? Or Logano, could he pull away? They're currently tied, like I said earlier, at 3. Could we see someone get their first win at Phoenix? And then on the Xfinity side, tomorrow afternoon, 3:30 p.m. Eastern Time, 2:30 Central, $1.4 million on the line when they run 200 laps for 200 miles. And the calls811.com, every dig, every time, 200 from Phoenix Raceway. There's 5 previous winners entered in the race. Like I said earlier, there's 4 that are looking for their first win. Sheldon Creed, Austin Hill, Riley Herbst, and John Hunter Nemechek. And then, like I said earlier, on the Xfinity, this rookie class has been so much fun to watch. We've been covering them all year here at 4-Star Sports Media in our NASCAR coverage. Richard Childress Racing, Jesse Love, incredible job right now. Shane Van Gisbergen sitting in second place right now in the Sunoco Rookie of the Year standings. 16th overall in the Xfinity. He's got 60 points. Haley Deegan, I'm telling you, Haley Deegan is going to be one to look out for. She's sitting in 4th right now in the rookie standings, sitting in 27th overall with 33 points. But she rolled the dice, raced really well last week in another 1-mile track out in Las Vegas, as they're on the West Coast swing right now. We'll find out tomorrow. It's going to be a lot of fun. NASCAR is cranked up right now. Absolutely cranked all the way up, and it's just now getting started. Kind of like us. We're just now getting started, guys. We're only about halfway through the show. Live Golf, Hong Kong. So many storylines there. Can John Rahm get it right? Took a triple bogey yesterday to push him from tied for the lead to tied for 18th. Beautiful golf course out in Hong Kong. If you haven't checked it out, be sure and do so. Speaking of checking things out, if you haven't checked out our social media pages, go by and do that. Facebook, it's 4-Star Sports Media. Twitter, which we're live on right now, it's the little @ symbol, or X. Sorry, we're on X and Twitter, whatever. It's at 4-Star Sports M. And then go to our incredible website, 4star.live. It's where you can find all of our content. It's a one-stop shop for everything 4-Star. You got the articles. You got these podcasts such as this, such as the Hogs Happy Hour Thursday night. Those guys did an incredible job last night. That show's posted up right now on the website, as well as each of these shows from the Sports Buffet. We got Tiger's Den and more. And guys, if you haven't checked out some of the amazing photography work from Madison Pinkey, I don't know what you're doing. This girl is amazing behind a camera. She finds a way to find the shots beneath the game. Football, basketball, Baseball now down at Mississippi State. Memphis Showboats. Speaking of the Memphis Showboats, had Cole Kelly on yesterday. Be sure and check that interview out now. It's out on our social media, Facebook and X pages, as well as YouTube. Be sure and check that out. Great interview with Cole yesterday. Had a really good time sitting down and speaking with him. And that season is getting ready to crank up too, and we'll have more on the Showboats and the UFL. Speaking of the UFL, I don't know if you noticed, but we went to Facebook earlier and broke a little bit of news as the UFL and Under Armour reached a partnership. Under Armour is now the official jersey, sideline apparel for coaches and players, fan gear, youth gear, everything. The official brand of the UFL is Under Armour. That's big time. That's big time. We talked to Cole about it yesterday. Cole made the statement that he felt like the jersey, the branding, all that was a little bit better. And less than 24 hours later, we are looking at a press release from the UFL about them partnering with Under Armour. That's big time. Speaking of big time, we're going to take a little break here in a minute. But when we come back, we're going to talk Memphis sports. Hoops has got a big matchup this weekend. Women's team is taking on the conference tournament. We'll get into all that next week. Tigers are on CBS tomorrow. 11 a.m. Central Time tip. Early tip. Down at Florida Atlantic. We're going to get into that here in a minute. We're going to take a quick break. We come back. We're going to talk all things Memphis Tigers right here on the Sports Buffet on the 4-Star Sport. Welcome back, guys. We are coming back from break right here on the Sports Buffet. It's a Plateful Friday edition. In case you missed it, we just got through talking Live Golf. Got a little update from the tournament over in Hong Kong. And then we just got through turning some laps out in Phoenix as we talked NASCAR and dove into this weekend's races. It's going to be a lot of fun as the NASCAR season has just increasingly gotten better and better and better every week. And who would have thought that would have happened based off the Daytona and Atlanta races? But they're now out in race 4 in Phoenix. Now, it's time to talk a little Memphis Tigers. We're going to start with hoop action as the Tigers come in 22-8, 11-6 on the season, and they're hitting the road to go down and take on Florida Atlantic, who comes in 23-7, 13-4 in the American Athletic Conference. This game will be taking place Sunday, 11 a.m. tip-off there from Boca Raton from the Baldwin Arena that only seats 2,900 people. CBS will have the coverage on TV. You got Steve Lapis and Andrew Catalan on the call. So let's go ahead and dive into Florida Atlantic a little bit. The Owls come in 16th in the nation, first in the conference, scoring 82.7 points per game. A big reason for this is because they're league leading 47.9% field goal percentage and 36% from deep, which ranks them third in the conference. Jonell Davis leads the team in scoring at 18.3 and rebounds at 6.4 per game. Currently, Davis is shooting 48.3% overall and 44% from long range. So definitely a guy that Tigers defensively will need to keep an eye on. Davis has scored in double figures in 22 of the last 23 games entering the weekend and put up 29 at North Texas recently. Vlad Golden is second in scoring for the Owls at 15 points a game. He leads the squad in rebounding at 6.6 per game. The big man leads the AAC and ranks third in the country with 66.3% field goal. Elijah Martin is pouring in 13.4 points a game and 6 rebounds as well. When you look at this Florida Atlantic team, they're extremely talented. They're gonna put points on the board. If Memphis can just hit the road, make a big win. They got 21 wins in the month of March under Penny Hardaway. I mean, 16% of Penny's career victories have come in this month. (51-2) under Penny when shooting 50% or higher from the field. Last week, the Tigers shot 57% at East Carolina, improving them to 6-0 this year in these games. Speaking of points per game off turnovers in the last two outings have been 25 for the Tigers. They scored 17 off the Pirates' 17 turnovers, and then turned it around and scored 33. Incredible basketball game against UAB with their 18 turnovers. David Jones, Tomlin, and Quinterly did something that's only happened 3 times in school history, and that is record 25-plus points in the same game. And they did that against UAB, where Jones would score 32, Tomlin would score 28, and Quinterly would score 25. By the way, in case you were wondering, the only other times this has happened was way back in 1954, 1955. So it's been a little bit. Just a little bit. Big time ball game. Memphis knows. Their fans know. Oh, there's a lot riding on this game for Memphis. You look at the conference standings right now. Memphis has a chance to end the regular season with the most road wins in 12 years. But the Tigers can finish anywhere from 3rd to 6th for next week's AAC conference tournament. A win against the Owls would secure the Tigers the number 4 seed along with a double bye, but it's going to take some help. A loss would mean a 5th or even a 6th place finish. Since 2019-2020, when the Tigers finished 5th in the league, they have not finished lower than 3rd. There's a lot riding on this game. It's going to take some help, as I stated, for the Tigers. By the way, I said Sunday. I apologize. The game is tomorrow, 11 a.m. It's the 4th all-time series. Tigers currently lead 2-1. I'm sure you remember less than 2 weeks ago, the Tigers won 78-74, where David Jones would lead the team with 25 points, 11 rebounds. Tomlin would also have 21 points. And this will be the Tigers' first ever visit to Baldwin Arena, Boca Raton, and Florida Atlantic. Should the Tigers knock them off, like I said, they're 23-7, 13-4 in conference play. But the Owls are currently riding an 11-game home winning streak, which is the 19th longest active streak in the nation. Dating back to 21-22, the Owls have won 29 of its last 30 games, with the lone defeat happening November 18th, 2023, in a 61-52 defeat to Bryant. Second place in conference. Tigers sit at right now currently tied at 4th. Big time basketball game. You're going to need guys to show up. David Jones, Daquan Tomley, and Javon Quinterly are going to continue to have to play like they have, lights out, over the last 3 games. They've scored 64.3 points combined per game. Combined points per game over the last 3. The rest of the team is averaging 24 points a game in that span. In addition to the points, 64, this trio is also averaging 19 rebounds a game, 8.7 assists, and 6.7 steals a game. If you've listened to any show we've done throughout this basketball season, I, as well as John Sturdivant, have repetitively said it's going to take more than David Jones. It's going to take more than a Javon Quinterly. You're going to have to guys start collectively playing together. Now you're seeing that. $21 wins in March. Penny understands March is important. Penny understands how to win in March. 21-10 under Penny in March. And if they're leading in the last 5 minutes of the game, they're 18-2. In the last 2 seasons combined, Tigers are 42-5 when leading with 5 minutes remaining in the game. And the biggest stat of them all is that David Jones is averaging at least 21 points, 7 rebounds, and 2 steals a game this season. Number 1 player in the nation doing this. If he would be the first player to record those numbers in Division I since Zion Williamson did it in 2018, 2019, and the first Tiger to do it since now head coach Penny Hardaway in 1992, 19. Sorry about that. Had some technical difficulties. Um, when when you look at this team, it's a big time game. They understand that. They're ready. I think Penny's gonna have them ready. Gotta have other guys. Bourdain's got no Cooper's got to continue to play. Tomlin, lights out. Over the last 5 games, second best on the team, by the way, 20 points a game. And he's reached double figures in all 5 and in 10 of the last 11 games. He's recorded 20 points in 3 straight games entering tomorrow's game. Big time basketball game down in Boca Raton. Big time. Big time, big time, big time. Women's basketball. A little bit of news for them. They play Sunday against East Carolina in the conference tournament. But 2 Tigers today were placed on the American Athletic Conference postseason awards list as Madison Griggs and Elijah Smith both were announced today. Griggs, 5th-year senior out of Memphis, was named to the AAC Conference All-Conference second team today after finishing the regular season averaging 16.7 points per game during league play and drained 49 three-pointers. Griggs would also lead the American Athletic Conference with 700 minutes of action, averaging 39 points, 0.4 minutes per contest. It was top 10 in steals, 3-point field goals made, total 3-point field goals made, and points per game. This honor marks the 3rd AAC postseason award for Griggs in her career. When you look at Maddie and you look at her as a senior, both these girls are seniors we're going to talk about. Madison Griggs has done, as all the seniors, but Madison and just her offensive acclimate has been so much fun to watch. We made a post recently that the university is going to miss her in more than just the athletic standpoint. They're going to miss her in the community standpoint. It's going to be very interesting to see if Memphis can find another knockdown shooter similar to Madison Griggs. Now, let's not forget Smith, Elijah Smith, senior out of Johnson City, Tennessee. was tabbed to the all-newcomer team after ranking in the top 5 in the league in multiple categories. Keep in mind, she transferred in from Gardner-Webb, was second in the American Athletic Conference in rebounds per game with 10.7. Her 39 steals was also second in the American. She was third with 110 defensive rebounds. And total offensive, she had 73. Smith would also rank fourth in blocks with 25. Obviously, with her transferring in, it's her first American Athletic Conference postseason award. Don't sleep on this Memphis basketball team. Women's basketball team. Don't sleep on them. They can sneak up and get you. Kai Carter, Elijah Smith, Madison Griggs, Raven Sims from Bartlett, Tennessee. Power down low. Smart coaching. Coach Sims has done an incredible job this year. Getting through the waters of her first season in Memphis. It's been fun to watch. The season's not over. Hope to have Tyler Springs on next week. Talk a little Memphis ladies basketball. Speaking of first year, let's talk a little Memphis baseball. Tigers are getting ready to host the Grind City Classic for the first time ever, the inaugural Grind City Classic. This weekend, starting today, it started today, out at FedEx Park, Avon Fogelman Field, as Butler, Presbyterian, and Jackson State come to town for a round-robin style tournament. Obviously, that will include the Tigers. The Tigers come in 7-7, and they're going to play the second game of every day. So today, they'll play at 3:05 against Butler, who comes in 4-6, by the way. Tomorrow, they'll play against 7-6 Presbyterian at 5 p.m. And then Sunday, they'll go against 10-3 Jackson State. Tomorrow's game will be on ESPN+. The other game, head coach Matt Reiser, the Tigers seem to play better when they're not on TV. Now, speaking of dropping a game, 5-3 loss Wednesday night at Ole Miss down in Oxford. First of two matchups with the Rebels this season. The Tigers jumped out to a 2-0 lead in the first inning, but could not hang on as the Rebels came back for 5 runs in the third through 6 innings. The Tigers' bullpen was a brighter spot for them, which is something that team. But when you look at JT Durham, Seth Garner, Logan Rushing, Seth Cox, Braden Sanders, big closer, they would only allow 1 run and 4 hits over the final 6 innings of the game. Tiger first baseman Jacob Compton was named American Athletic Conference Weekly Honor Roll for his performances last week. He hit .353 and .882 slugging percentage while reaching base at a 500 clip. The senior out of Olive Branch, Mississippi, went 3 for 3 in a pair of bombs and drove in 5 runs to match his career best total in the clinching series win last Saturday over Wright State. Oscar Baskin, who we have an article out right now, is tied right now with Duante Stewart and Pierre Seals for total team hits with 18, and he's reached base safely in 27 straight games going back to last season. Butler comes in to the Grind City Classic coming off a 12-6 10 loss to Purdue Fort Wayne on Tuesday. The Blue Hens would drop a game down in Athens, Georgia to the Bulldogs 4-3, and Jackson State enters the Classic with 4 straight wins after a series sweep of Alcorn State last weekend and a 5-4 win over Rust College. I did not even know that team had a baseball team. They're in Holly Springs, Mississippi. Holy cow. But Rust College with a 5-4 win. So interesting there. Very interesting. Going to have Jason Pattyson coming on here shortly to talk Arkansas Razorbacks. Going to talk a little Arkansas baseball, a little DVH. And then we're going to talk a little Arkansas spring football. I mean, the prodigal son's back home. So we got to figure out how Bobby P and the boys, as well as Sam Pittman and his renewed staff, is doing out there. We'll get Jason on here shortly. Let's get into some Tiger softball real quick. Memphis softball fell to Ole Miss 9-0 Tuesday night at the Tiger softball complex. They now are 3-16 on the year. Been a rough season for them, but they continue to fight. They got 3 hits and 4 walks, but were unable to convert these hits and walks into runs. But bright spot, McKaylee Polk did reach her 5th straight game with a hit, getting a nice little single up the middle in the bottom of the second. Ole Miss would jump out to a 2-run lead quickly with a Paige Smith shot over the center field wall to put the Rebels up. They would add to that lead when Jayla Lassiter would single up the middle, allowing Taylor Malvin to score. In the top of the second, Ole Miss would put on another. They would end up with a 4-0 lead. Memphis would get his first hit of the game as Polk, like I said, would single up the middle in the second inning. Presley Morris would load the bases with a 1-out single to left after Zoe Adebayo would draw a walk. The Rebels added another run in the 5th and 2 more runs in the 6th to close out the game. Aforementioned Adebayo would single to left field and put the Tigers on base with 2 outs in the bottom of the 6th inning. Both runners would advance into scoring position on a wild pitch, and then they would strike out to close the game. 3 Tigers recorded hits: Presley Morris, Polk, and Adebayo. Tanaya Brown will get to start going 1.2 innings with 1 strikeout. Abigail Morgan would come in on relief in the top of the second. She would throw 4 innings of work with 1 strikeout. The Tigers are back in action tonight. They're in Memphis Tiger softball complex as they open up conference play against the Tulsa Golden Hurricanes. So it should be a very interesting matchup. Hopefully the Tigers can get some momentum going in conference play. 3 wins is not good early, but last year about this time they hit conference play. They started putting some wins together. Stephanie Van Brackle in her now 2nd year as head coach is building something. I know a lot of fans that are in the Memphis area just see the win totals and they don't watch the game or they don't pay attention to the program and they just say, oh, they've won 3 games. It's more than that. There's injuries. There's numerous things going on within this program that she's having to navigate the waters of, as well as she's the 3rd ever softball coach at Memphis. Let's not forget that. They've only had 3. It's not like they've had 20. The program hasn't been around all that long. So let's have some patience if you're Memphis fans. Just saying. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we got Jason Pattyson coming on. I'm excited about this one. It's going to be a lot of fun. We're going to come on and talk some Arkansas Razorbacks right here on the Sports Buffet Friday edition, right here on the 4-Star Sports Radio Network. All right, guys, welcome back to the Sports Buffet Friday edition. As I said earlier, we're treating this show like we're Jerry Lawler's wrestling opponent. We're dropping the strap, we're hitting it with some stiff rights, and giving it a pile driver to finish off. And we got a guy that I know for sure knows his Arkansas Razorbacks, and that is none other than Jason Pattyson. Jason, what's going on, buddy?
Oh man, Wes, not much. How you doing? Wes, can you hear me? Wes,
Man,
if
I'm
you
doing
can
well,
hear
man.
me,
I'm doing
man, I
well.
cannot hear
Let's
you.
Can you hear me now?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
All right. Can you hear me now, Jason?
I can hear you, Wes.
I hope he can hear me. I really don't know if he can. Okay, good deal. All right, man. Let's get started with
Yeah.
a little baseball. Tigers, I'm sorry, the Tigers. Razorbacks welcome McNeese State to town. Big time 3-game matchup, Jason. What's your thoughts on the early performance from this baseball team?
So, they're coming off a sweep of Murray State last weekend. You've got Brady Tiger struck out 10 on Saturday. Hagen Smith doesn't do well in cold weather, but he was able to kind of fight through it last weekend and gave up a home run off the second pitch he threw in the game. Was able to really battle back, and with Arkansas getting that sweep. And it really concerned me with Murray State with what they had happen last weekend, where you've got a bunch of guys that are fourth and fifth year guys that did not understand the infield fly rule and let a game get away from them that would have possibly prevented the sweep in the first place. But something happened. Don't know what it is. I mean, let's face it, Razorback fans in Baum Stadium, they're super smart. They're very intelligent baseball people. I like to think that they're the likings of like St. Louis and the Cardinals and their fans. They get it. They know what baseball is. They know the rules. They understand it. So that whenever you see a bonehead play like that happen, they're going to call you out on it. And not only are they going to call you out, they're going to let you know about it through the rest of the game, which is exactly what happened. But yeah, that's pretty much my synopsis from last weekend's sweep of Murray State. They picked up a really close 7-5 victory over an in-state UCA team that's pretty salty. You've got smaller schools that come into Baum, and these are kids that are on, either A-State, UCA, whoever it happens to be their in-state opponent. They come up here. They've already played in Baum once before, because more than likely some of those kids have played on state tournament championship teams or runner-up teams. And so they've played in Baum. They know what the atmosphere is like, and they relish the opportunity to be able to go to Baum Stadium. And then also on top of that, you're playing the number 2 team in the nation. So exactly what they want. They want to go in there and they want to show you, hey, you know what? You missed out on this guy, and I'm going to make you pay for it. And it was really nice to see Arkansas come away with a very close victory. V. Aloy was player of the game, really come through with that massive home run that really kind of helped propel Arkansas to that win. I like to call it the flying Hawaiian tandem between Aloy and Souza, which he's starting to have a more integral part in the offense, because Dave's going to put guys out that are going to hit, not who could be great hitters. He's going to put guys out there that are producing right now. And he has that option where he has, if you're not producing at this point, you've got another guy behind you that's just probably damn near as good as you are, that can step up into that spot and be able to produce. If you don't, then they'll go back again. But that's where Dave has that option that he may not have had so much last year. He did the year before, but not so much last year, but this year he does.
100%, man. 100%. When you look at Arkansas against McNeese State, they got a 6-3 all-time lead, 4-3 on games played in Fayetteville. Under Dave, though, 5-1, 3-1 at Baum. Baum's a special place. It's you
Yeah,
walk into that stadium
it is.
and it has a aura about it. You can feel that you're in a place that extremely really, I mean, just baseball at a very high level continuously is played.
Mhm.
Speaking of high level, you talked about him earlier. Hagen Smith, first
Yep.
nationally in strikeouts per innings, 21.5, 31 total on the year, tied for fifth in the country with that. But one thing that I found very interesting, Jason, is that he's got 230 career strikeouts.
Yep.
He's only two behind Kevin Kopps for sixth all time. Could we see Brady possibly reach a Nick Schmidt of 345?
I think Hagen could. You have to look at it too. Nick Schmidt pitched for 3 years, and two of those
Hagen,
3 years
sorry,
were
I said
Friday
Brady.
nights. No, you're good, man. Hagen had 10 strikeouts on Saturday. Hell, before it's all said and done, you may have two pitchers at Arkansas on the same team in the top five in strikeouts with the clip they're striking folks out at right now. Because let's face it, nobody's hitting the ball. And whenever they are hitting the ball, it's you've got some really great defensive fielders behind them. I mean, you cannot talk more about Ty Wilmsmeyer, transfer from Missouri. The kid has been flashing leather all season. He had a hell of an incredible catch in the first weekend. And it was a great shot by John James that got that too, man. They're in center field, well, more or less center, but it was great. With this trio that he has, I want to put some perspective in this for just a second. You look at the 2018 team, and I'm not trying to jinx this mess by any stretch of the imagination, but you have, Brady Tiger along with Hagen and then Mason Molina. And I had him pulled up just a second ago. Hold on. Give me just 2 seconds here, Wes, because I'm telling you that there's method to my madness here for just a second. You've got a trio of pitchers that have not been rivaled since the 2018 team with Casey Murphy, Isaiah Campbell, and Blaine Knight. You have Blaine Knight coming in that 18 season as a first team All-American, all of Hagen Smith. Then you got a really solid young guy with Isaiah Campbell that now is with the Seattle Mariners with Brady Tiger. Then you have that third that's really solid that you don't really hear a lot about, but we've been hearing a lot about him as Mason Molina. Great teams can get to the College World Series with two starters that are super elite starters, and you can almost guarantee you can punch your ticket to Omaha. This team's got three, not including what he has in the bullpen, which basically is the DMV. Take your number. When I call you, we're going to put you out there. And then they sit there and they produce. They produce. Wes, if you can hear me, man, I can't hear you at all.
They do. No, you're good, man. I'm just listening, man. You're good. You are giving just nugget after nugget of information.
Sounds good. I wasn't sure there for a second because I
no, yeah, you're good, buddy. I'm just background listening. When you're good, man. You just talked about it. I mean, three pitchers that normally, we saw with LSU. It was really Skeens. He was the anchor. You got three anchors, and then you got guys like you just talked, go yank from the bullpen that can come in and continue to be just as successful as the starters. And they're 10-2 through the first 12 games.
Yeah. You've got, there's a guy named Will McIntyre. I think he's still on the staff. He was a guy that really kind of saved Arkansas's beef last year at the end of the season when you're having problems with Hagen starting in the bullpen, Brady was hurt for 6 weeks. He came out of the bullpen. Then he started, and then you had Will McIntyre. That was a midweek guy, moved to the weekends. Looks like he's going to be a midweek guy again. Also, a long inning guy, kind of like what Kevin Kopps was, as an inning eater. If you need him in the 5th, 6th, or 7th inning to get to the back end of that with Gabe Geichel and Gage Wood, I'm telling you, this is an embarrassment of riches, and that's the reason why this team is ranked 2nd in the country right now, Wes.
Yeah, this team is loaded. Like I said, 10-2 right now. Last year they started 18-2 in the first 20 games, and since 1960, the 18-2 or better through the first 20 games has happened 8 times and 5 times under Dave Van Horn. Jason, I really feel like this team is going to dominate tomorrow in the doubleheader. Of course, we have weather in the area, so they made tomorrow a DH doubleheader. I think they're going to dominate this series. And then you look down the schedule, SEC season's creeping up on us.
Well,
but speaking of a season,
I would like to say they're going to dominate the series, but at the same time, I'm going to just say it right now. Sometimes, man, baseball is a cold bitch mother, and you have to play at every pitch. You have to play it like it's going to be a live ball each time. So that's the reason why the Razorbacks can't look over their shoulder and they say, "Oh, we got SEC playing coming up here in a week or two." No, you can't do that. Not with this guy, not with this team. Just like you saw last weekend, you almost lost the last game of the series. You almost lost to UCA. And I'm not saying that Arkansas is going to have any problems, like foundational problems. What I'm saying is that a team like a Murray State or a Grambling, maybe not Grambling, but or a UCA can come up and bite you in the butt every once in a while, and that's why you have to stay laser focused. And I think that's one of the things that Dave has been really good at. That he's having to stay on these guys with, is making sure that their focus is at that elite level day in and day out, because that is the difference between the number 2 team in the nation that goes to the College World Series final and the number 3 team in the nation that can't get through the Super Regional. Is the laser focus on each game, each inning, each out, and each pitch. And that's what Dave is trying to hammer and instill into these guys. They already have a great foundation of this, but that is where you go from good to elite. And that's why you cannot take a weekend off. And I think that that's one of the things that he is really trying to instill with him. Nate Thompson, Matt Hobbs, and Bobby Warnes, those guys are making sure that they are staying focused. They're not losing, a ball that goes in the air and make a base running error, which we saw a week or two ago. Those are the things that have got to be cleaned up, because those will get exposed as you go later on in the season.
Very true. Very true. Well, right now the Hogs are 8-1 inside the friendly confines of Baum-Walker Stadium, and it's going to be an exciting weekend of Hog baseball right down the road here in Fayetteville, Arkansas. Speaking of a season that I know this town is just clamoring for information on, and that is football, Jason. Spring football got cranked up. What can you tell us about the very early starts of practice for the Arkansas Football Club?
So, Wes, I'm not sure if you can hear me or not, but I'm just going to go right into it real quick. So, I was at spring football this morning. One of the things that Sam is starting to do is starting to open it up to the media more. He touched on that this morning at the press conference. And one of the things I don't know if quite the Bobby Petrino effect a little bit, but you notice it with Bobby coming in, that the ease to media is starting to open up a little bit. Clay Henry was talking about this, and whenever you look at where Sam came from, he came from the Kirby tree. Kirby came from the Saban tree on both of those two coaches were no media access, cut them off, get them out of here. Give him a little bit, but not very much. Sam was that way too. It's just because that was who his predecessors were. Bobby's came in, kind of helped him. I don't want to say he talked him into it, but you're starting to see the belt loosen a little bit as far as media goes, access goes. You got 3 open scrimmages that folks can go watch at Razorback Stadium over the next 3 Saturdays leading up to the red-white game on April 13th. He also understands that, one, they're in the hot seat, that there's not a lot of room for error. There is a lot of need for access, really, because if you're not giving a lot of access, you have nothing for these media members to write about, to talk about, to convey your message out to the public. Because let's face it, this fan base started turning on him pretty damn fast right after the BYU game. Everybody knew pretty much that Dan Enos he's out. There hasn't been a lot of great football, not a lot of great basketball either over the last 6 months. Go check out the article I just wrote for Hogville. Otis should have that up pretty soon over on that, and also Picture All Nation. One of the things that I really noticed the most when I first walked in this morning into the indoor practice facility was there was camaraderie again. There was guys that I wouldn't say liked each other, but you could tell that they were getting along a little better. The staff looked really comfortable, looked really just kind of, we're going to go through spring ball and we're going to have some fun. And that's what I was taking from it. Now, they're working. Don't get me wrong. They're working, but they're having fun while they're working. And those are the sorts of things that really can transpire into some good things. I'm not saying it will, but it could roll over from spring to summer, fall camp. Sam talked about this a little bit. This was something that I was very cognizant of when they were doing individual drills, also known as indie drills. Sam and Eric Mateos had the offensive line split up. They were doing individual drills with both of them there with them with offensive line. And then Sam took a group and Mateos took a group. What I really kind of took from that was Sam, he's not saying that he heard, listened, and is accepting the criticism of Sam Pittman's a great offensive line coach, but he's going to get fired because his offensive line sucks. Him and that group last summer had to have known. I've talked to a couple media members about this too. They had to have known last summer that they were in trouble. They were wanting to hopefully be able to patchwork that through the first 3 or 4 games and something kind of come together for them, get some cohesiveness over the first 3 or 4 games, and then put out that 5 and just stick with it for the rest of the season. And that never happened. Yeah, KJ Jefferson, that his play was pretty sloppy, which also cartwheeled into the offensive line. It was like a catch-22 all over again. You have Keyshawn Blackstock that's came in. You have Fernando Carmona that's came in. You've got, Amarian Harris that's back with Pat Kudis and Tykees Crawford, which, by the way, Tykees Crawford slimmed down a little bit more. He's right just above 300 right now. They have him listed at 319. He's just above 300. They've got some guys that have not, I wouldn't say slimmed down, but they've kind of, re-chiseled their physique a little bit more under Ben Souders. They did so last year. They're doing a little more so this year. You have a group that is starting to play together more in the second season. I cannot speak enough to having a group that's played with each other for a season and then moving into that second season, because in that second season, you start to have more gains. I know that Vegas has got Arkansas at 5.5 wins. I mean, do I see a 6-6? I think there could be. I don't know exactly where it's going to come from yet, but they could be a 6-6 team. But Sam Pittman was with the offensive line for a solid 20, 30 minutes today. He did it yesterday too. He talked about it in his press conference. While Jimmy Smith and Bobby Petrino, they had their guys all over with the spider drills and individuals with their side too. You could tell that Sam didn't feel like he needed to micromanage it, make sure that he was looking everywhere, like he was doing with Cody Kennedy, also with what he was doing with Dan Enos last year. That none of that mess was happening. You could tell that he felt comfortable. He had the defense turned over to T. Will. He was taking care of it. Bobby had, backs, receivers, and quarterbacks. They were taking care of that. He was able to concentrate on the offensive line. And I think that's where I noticed a profound difference in how comfortable they looked, because you could tell that they were in their element again. One of the things I do want to talk about too is that, and I honestly didn't believe this at first, was that Bobby Petrino is a changed guy. You can sit there and say that all day long until you see the proof in the pudding, which a lot of Arkansas fans have already forgiven him in a way. But the dude has changed. The guy has changed. You see Bobby Petrino back in 2012, 2010, out there screaming his head off, everybody walking around on pins and needles, everybody just kind of, real suspect looking a little bit. No, man, this guy just wants to coach some football. He does not give a damn about the past. That past is the past. His family forgave him. That fan base has too. He wants to just coach, and he wants to just get guys in the right spot, and he wants to win again, because he's a competitive dude from to the very last molecule of his body. He's a competitive guy. And you go from a situation where he talked about being handcuffed, not having to call his own plays and all that other mess, to being a completely wide open, this is my baby, I'm going to do it again, and allowing him to be competitive again like he was at Missouri State, which damn near beat Arkansas, if y'all think about that 2 years ago. So I really think that with Bobby changed, he was out there having fun, but you could tell he wanted everybody to have the sense of awareness that no play is to be taken off. I saw, who was that? I think it was Tyrone Broden lined up, and Bobby gave him a quick yell. He said, "Look at where your ball is. Line up to the ball." And it was just one moment. That has nothing to do with him as a player. But he's making sure that everybody's getting it right in spring ball. Because when you get it right in spring ball, you get it right in summer or fall practices, you get it right in the games. Another thing that I heard talk about too, Chuck Barrett was talking about this morning, was that they're going to be tackling more. You do not tackle, you do not perform in the game, because you are not used to the live hitting. They're going to start taking backs and receivers to the ground in spring scrimmage, spring practices. That hasn't happened before. Sam talked about doing it during fall camp, not spring. That's how you get a mentally tough group, is that you are able to tackle from the day one. So that way, whenever first game comes up, let's hold a hat. That's where this team has kind of lacked a little bit too. And I think that that's where you are going to see more gains on the offensive side of the ball. The defense is getting better. Backfield is looking phenomenal. Tevis Metcalf, he had an interception today. RJ Johnson had an interception today as well. One of the things that I also noticed was Luke Has. That dude looks good. And I mean good. Said clavicle's good. Everything's healing up real nicely. I'm pretty sure you'll have a green jersey on that guy through spring to make sure that nothing goes wrong with that clavicle, so he's good for fall. But I'm pretty sure that when fall comes, he'll be good. He'll be 100% to go.
Good deal, man. That is great news for Haas, because he was one that I was going to ask about for sure. Jason, you brought up a good point about Sam and working with the offensive line. We got a couple of videos that you sent us that I want to, or at least one video that I would like to play, and just give me your, I guess, a synopsis of what was going on during this video.
One step back, get a little bit wider. Here we go. Inside zone. Sunday. There it is.
So that was one of the videos.
I'm not gonna lie, man, that got me excited right there.
Another one that Wesley got to that I sent him, and yeah, you could definitely see where they were working on a lot of combo drills. They were working on a lot of chipping, which, yeah, I mean, yeah, that's a lot of base, offensive line base stuff. But Mateos was really drilling in on the technique part of it, because Pat Kudus had lined up. His hips were supposed to have been facing the defensive lineman, which was just to his right a little bit, and he had him squared up straight. And before they even started, he called him out. It was like, right after the drill was over with, he got him through his rep. He said, "What were you doing? What did I tell you to do? And what did you do wrong?" And he hammered it. He's like, "I did this." And he's like, "Well, then do it. Every stinking rep that we do it. If that is what you need to be doing, you have to do it each drill." He was going through footwork with them. He was going through how they were supposed to be spaced with their footwork as well. How they were supposed to be shuffling their feet and stuff. I mean, this is stuff that, I know that Cody Kennedy probably went over with them at some point, but he's getting this stuff done on week 1 of spring and re-emphasizing, him and Sam both were re-emphasizing the technique and the fundamentals, because I think that sometimes they've kind of went away with it. So it's nice and refreshing to see that, that he's taken the ownership, accountability part of it from the top, so that way he can expect that from everybody, from OCs down to the players, to hell, the walk-ons for that matter.
We're going to go ahead and play the other video as well. Hang on.
Bring the funk now. Bring it. Sunday. Set up. There it is. Left.
Jason, you brought up a point earlier about Sam, and Sam was letting
Wes,
Bobby do his thing, was letting T-Will do his thing. Yeah, I can. You brought up a point about Bobby doing his thing, T-Will doing his thing. Just letting everybody. Sam is now able to be.
Wes, has been good talking with you, man, and I will get out of here, and y'all take care.
All right, man. Well, that was Jason Pattyson. Came on to talk Arkansas Razorbacks. Jason brings a lot of really good information every time he comes on. What a show today, guys. We started off with Live Golf. We turned some laps in NASCAR. We talked Memphis Tigers. We talked Arkansas Razorbacks. More next week right here on the Sports Buffet. We're just now getting this thing started, guys. This is going to be a repetitive thing for us. Got Tyler Springs coming on next week. Got the voice of the Mississippi State Lady Bulldog basketball team, Jason Crowder, coming on next week as well. Turn some laps in NASCAR. Talk Memphis Tigers. They got a big basketball game. They got a baseball game starting up here in about 20 minutes as well. But it's been a lot of fun. Jason Pattyson, thank you very much for coming on, my brother. Man, for all of us here at 4-Star Sports Media, we appreciate you watching. We appreciate you listening. And as always, go Tigers.